Now listen to him. Verse 7, and all the carved images of it shall be beaten to pieces. And I asked my guide, I said, are there any images around here? Did they find any? And he said, no evidence here of idolatry, yet we know that there was idolatry here, but he says there's no evidence of it whatsoever. Now he said in the palace of Jezebel, and you remember God said that that palace of ivory would be destroyed. He said that they have found in the ruins quite a few ivory vessels that were evidently jars to hold perfume, and others larger for wine, and they are of ivory. That was an ivory palace that was built there, and it's all gone, but the archaeologist has found some ivory there, and they have excavated there a great deal. And all its hires shall be burned. Now, that word hires is a very interesting word that we have here, and I want us to look at it for just a moment because it is an important word. But the hires were costly vessels that had been given to the heathen temples, and they have found several of those hires, that is, those very expensive ivory vessels that were used for perfume and probably incense and probably for the worship of that day. This is something that is quite remarkable, by the way, that he mentions here. And he says here, and all its idols will I lay desolate, for she gathered it of the hires of an harlot, and they shall return to the hire of an harlot. That is, all of these are going right back and will be used for sin again, which apparently they were in Roman times. Old Herod rebuilt that city, and he liked it there. It was such a delightful place to live, but that place has been destroyed also. In other words, what was the main sin now he mentions here? Sex. That was number one on the sin parade. In Corinth, for instance, they know today that the worship there of Aphrodite upon the Acropolis, there were 1,000 bestial virgins, as they were called, so-called, by the way. And they were nothing in the world but prostitutes. And when you went up there to worship, this was part of the worship, you see. And that was true in this land. It was true among the Phoenicians, and it was true among the Philistines. And Israel picked this thing up, and they were guilty of it. In other words, a man had to pay when he went into one of these places. Actually, the temples, and when it was just outdoors, there was nothing in the world but a brothel, and all of it was done in the name of religion. It's quite interesting today that we are returning to that viewpoint. The so-called new morality, it's as old as the worship of Moloch or of Baal or of any heathen religion of the world. And that's one of the reasons that we say religion has not been a blessing to the world. It has wrecked mankind. And if you want to see what religion has done, go to India. Religion has absolutely kept a wonderful people there down and kept them in a low state, bound down by the fetters of a religion. Now, Christianity is not a religion. The Lord Jesus made it clear, if the Son make you free, you shall be free indeed. And you can be delivered from these things that are sinful, the things that God condemns. Now, this is the condemnation of these people. Now, it so affected the prophet. Micah is very much like Jeremiah, and actually Hosea, men with tender hearts. God used prophets. We think of them all being like Elijah. Now, I think Elijah was a hard-nosed prophet, and Ezekiel was. You remember God said, he said, they are hard-headed people. But God says to Ezekiel, I'm going to make your heads hard as theirs. In fact, harder than their head. And these men would speak right out. But many of God's prophets were very tender-hearted, and Micah's one of them.